welcome back to the Mackem in the Middle podcast. Another Sunderland game has passed, and another game that has a lot of talk and discussion to be made around it. A defeat at home to Hull City. Obviously, we played them not too long ago at their ground. Jack Clark scoring the winner in that game. However, it was a very different story yesterday with Fabio Carvalho on loan from Liverpool, scoring the winner to make it 1-0 to Hull City, which just piles extra misery onto the state of Sunderland at the moment, which will, again, probably be what we mainly focus on as opposed to the actual game, because, quite frankly, John, everything is going wrong at the club at the minute.
Yeah, it is. We can't sugarcoat it too much. But I think, well, certainly I'm of the opinion if the stuff on the pitch is good, and we're playing that good football, and things are going well, we don't tend to. Obviously, there still needs to be that, goodness done off the pitch, but you're probably sort of putting those to sort of one side, and you're, maybe letting them sort of get away with. Obviously, we know what's come to fruition now about things upstairs, and obviously the Black Cats bar shenanigans and all. We'll call it shite. But yeah, just the whole thing seems to maybe crumbling. Again, we could go into many things, but yesterday was just a bit of a, I don't know, sort of a. Well, it certainly wasn't a good night for Michael Beale. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, we'll get the game out of the way first, because, like I said, I think very similar to the Newcastle game, very similar to the game against Ipswich as well. A lot of the focus at the minute isn't on the games that are being played, and more so everything that's going on at the club. So we'll start with the actual game itself, which, as a watch, I was there. Obviously, I imagine you were watching on TV. People, I think there was allegedly 40,000 there. Obviously, I don't think there was that many there in reality, but for every single person that was watching that game who is affiliated with Sunderland, what a dismal, boring night of football it was.
Yeah, it was. And again, we can, we'll go back to the goals that we scored last season and how well we played. Some of the football's just, one touch, bang, bang. And we absolutely tore, teams to shreds. And, maybe I'll maybe give them the benefit of the doubt, maybe that some teams, not all, some have maybe worked us out, and sort of doubled up on Clark. But yeah, like I don't know where it's gone wrong. Obviously, we struggled towards the end of Mowbray. I don't think anyone would disagree with that, albeit we probably would have still picked up, decent-ish results. But yeah, last night just, yeah, I mean, I hate to criticize, but just, yeah, it was like you say, it was slow, it was boring. I don't know where our press has gone. I don't know, maybe we sold that. It wouldn't surprise me, because we're loving to sell our soul at the moment. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, because they were crap playing out from the back. And we didn't really press, at all. And we're the home team, and we're expecting the Stadium Light to be a fortress. And teams to come here, and I thought Liam Rosini said that it was their worst performance, but I thought they were all right. They did the dirty stuff, they did what was needed of them, and they go home with 3 points, and we get sweet FA. I mean, tactically, again, I could point to a host of things. I think Trey Hume being on the left, I think that
I mean, we'll start with the initial head scratcher of the night, which again has been the case for the last few weeks, really, which is the team selection. If you go back to the Preston game, which again, I know we've mentioned this before, but we're going to mention it again. Rooston scores probably best performance from a striker, since Gelhardt. Granted, we haven't had too many of them. Gets his goal, first striker to score a goal in about what feels like about a decade. He gets rewarded for that by getting dropped in the next game for Abdullah Bar, who had been in shocking form. Abdullah Bar then comes in against Ipswich, gets an assist, probably our best player on the pitch. In that game, becomes the first player to get subbed off. Interesting, that was that game. So you're thinking, right, Abdullah Bar probably deserves to start this game. And then Abdullah Bar gets dropped after having a good game. Rusin comes back in, and we'll kind of get under the shape because I think people will have seen the picture that I think it was
I think
SA. Yeah, there was a picture of like Sunderland's average shape during the game, but like I say, Abdullah Bar getting dropped after having a good game, Rusin getting dropped after scoring the first goal a striker scored this season. Like again, the team selection yesterday before a ball was even kicked just raises so many question marks as to like what is the plan? Like why you keep your good players on the pitch? If someone's in good form, you play them.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, that picture showed, told 1,000 stories. We're shoehorning in Job at the moment. At the moment, I don't think he's at the top of his game. He needs to come out. We've got players who are definitely guaranteed to play. And then we've got our players who are sort of, Rusin, Bar, easy targets that we can just go, well, we'll just take them out. And, to me, I thought Rusin touched the ball more times against Newcastle than he did yesterday. Granted, I don't think he was very good. And to be fair, he's just had 2 weeks off. So he should be, he should be really refreshed. But even him, his pressing wasn't great. I didn't really see him busting a gut like I had before. But then on the flip side, he's been put in, he scores, then he's been, then he's taken out, then he's put back in. It's like, they're, even though he's 25, these are still, still young lads who are still learning. And, you're flipping him out like constantly, and then you're letting other people who aren't as good, like I'd say Ekwa and Job are not great at the moment. You're sort of letting them, they can just play no matter what and know. What's Chris Rigg done? Yeah, I know he's young, but if he's part of the squad and he's played well and he's, somewhere along the line, he's probably one of our top scorers in the league, albeit he's got one, but he's probably scored more than, Hamir, Mienda, Burstow, Roberts put together. So it's, we're going on Al-Shish. Al-Shish seems to have been, obviously, we know what happened last week, but we were told, these are kids, they're going to make mistakes. Yes, that's true. And then, after Ekwa made the mistake of it last season against Hull, it was now straight back in. They're going to make mistakes. Same as Dan Neil. They're going to make mistakes. We've got to ride it, blah, blah, blah. But now you don't see Al-Shish.
Yeah. I mean, I'm at risk of doing the same to you as what I did to Michael, which is a lot of interrupting, but there's just so, like, again, I said we were going to talk about the game more so than anything else at the minute, but it doesn't really work like that because Sunderland's model at the minute is to sign young players, develop them, realistically sell them for a profit, start again. Sunderland seem to be signing young players and not developing them, not giving them any game time. And yeah, when Himi has played, granted, I think he came on yesterday and looked good. He, held the ball up, played some nice football, had scraps to feed off, but probably won't see him again for God knows how long. Rusin comes in and doesn't really get much of a chance. Starts against Preston, gets a goal, gets dropped. Abdullah Bar, obviously he was here last season, played quite a bit, but all the players that we're bringing into, in quotation marks, develop, we're not giving them a chance to develop because we're not giving them a chance to, let alone get on the pitch, but, maintain a run of form.
Yeah, spot on. Or if you're talking about the model, which we know the model is the model, that's fine. But then we've got to then be touting around our players who are worth a bit of money because it doesn't look like the owner's going to dip his hand in his pocket, anytime soon. There's no, sort of nice outlay that we can do, apparently. So then you've got to then tout around these players because, like I said, that is the model. If someone's thinking about, we'll say Dan Ballard, for instance, or Jack Clark, someone's touting them, for sort of 25 million. We've got to be looking and going, well, we can reinvest that money. You'd think that's the model. We need to obviously progress the model. On the flip side, what have we seen with the Ross Stewart money? What have we seen with Lyndon Gooch? The Lahadji money is supposed to be good. We ripped off the mags apparently for the Black Cats bar, which would have been good money. Where is that money plus the owner himself putting in money? So what makes you think, upon, say, Jack Clark being sold, say for 25 million, what makes us think that money is going to go back into the club? And even on the flip side, what makes you think it's going to be able to replace Clark to any sort of decent level? and you could flip it again a different way and think, you tell me, like, Pritchard, one of the better players, there's rumours about his contract and stuff and that. You tell me if he really wants to be here with Michael Beale, Jack Clark as well. They'll turn around in the end and they'll say, look, I can't be doing this. What are we doing? We are a good team. We're a good team. So what? Yeah. We're not helping those people on the pitch, We're not getting in those extra experienced players, and everyone's not getting a fair shot. And it was Burstow last week was allowed to play. This week it's Hamir. Whereas in the week, I'm sure they said Hamir is probably going to be good for a loan.
It's like someone pointed out, it's like Mayenda played for the under-21s, which he's a striker that we signed, and should he be playing for the under-21s and not getting a chance at the first team? Who knows? But he was there. Scored 2 goals, and like you say, the report comes out a few days later that Hamir might be going out on loan. Okay, sort of makes sense, kind of. What doesn't make sense is to then have Hamir in the squad and Mayenda, despite scoring 2 midweek in the under-21s, to not be in the squad whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. And these, like we're saying, these are young kids, and it's a very scattergun approach, and they're going to be all over the place. Well, am I ready? Am I not? Like, if I was Jewison Bennett, not say he's the answer, because let's be honest, he probably isn't. But he does well against Southampton. No one's seen him since. He hasn't got one bit of, football. Mowbray was like, oh, he's happy to go and play for the 23s. Yeah, I'm sure he is, because he's a kid. He wants to play football. So what has happened? Let's get rid of him then, because it's clear to me he's not going to get a chance. He's just hoarding up a space on the bench. He's not going to get a chance. Rig isn't getting a chance. So leave him be. Like, especially Rig, put him back in with the kids. Let him play every week. They play at decent levels. They play in the Premier League too. They'll be playing against decent-ish players. It's just such a frustrating one. And like you say, that picture yesterday proved the recruitment isn't, on the face of it, you could probably say, oh, it's recruitment's been decent, and we got all these young kids who are decent, and we got this and we got that. But to me, yesterday, from a super coach and all the amazing coaching that Speakman says he's seen, I didn't see anything different to what Mowbray does, apart from a Mowbray regress, if you know what I mean. It was
the one thing I would say is, which I think I've probably been a mistake in saying, is to say there's been no difference since Bale came in, because I would say there is, just not in the way that you'd want it to be.
No, because where's that positive? When a new manager comes in, it should be right. I
think the best way to put this as well, and this is, pretty much every game since Bale's been in charge, we've looked like the away team.
Yeah, that's fine when you are the away team and you go in and you're trying to pick up results. That's fine. When we went to Hull, it wasn't pretty, but we got the job done. That's fine. But unfortunately, with the onus is on us at home, and regardless of whether people class as a big club or not big club, and remember the Bolton 6-0, which people keep fucking reminding everyone, we've come a long way, and I think we are still within our right to be able to expect a certain level of competitiveness in this league. We've seen it shows to me the owners, and I think we'll see it in the next 2 weeks, where these owners really want to go, because Speakman's come out and said he wanted we'll say promotion. I think he did say top 2. That's not going to happen, and even the playoffs, we are going to have to put some serious results together. That as well, we're going to have to add to the squad. Are we going to really add to the squad? Do we really want to add to the squad? Because by all accounts, it's quite bloated. So we are going to have to ferry those people out. So the next 2 weeks is already going to show us. And at the moment, it just seems like we're just plodding to the end of the window. We might have a good deadline day, fine. But we haven't given ourselves any chance. And I know the market is quite slow, but that doesn't interest me. Because we have got, I'm not saying go and blow millions, because that's not what I'm saying. But there are scouting network who we have, one of the best in Harvey, apparently, who's been travelling the world on all expenses paid by the club, which again is fine. You've got to unearth us some decent enough players who can come in and fit a system to play. Like, we're still trying to play Ekra and Dan Neil sort of as holding midfielders. They're not holding midfielders. People keep saying Jay Matete is going to be the answer. Not the answer. He wasn't even in the squad yesterday. So that tells me he's away. So again, it's the badness of, we're saying good recruitment. It looks to me it's bad recruiting. There's no balance on our wing play. So Jack Clark gets the ball and he's got 4 players around him. I think he got everyone booked yesterday in Hull. Literally nearly everybody, just on his own. and there was no width. We're talking about a guy who's playing right back, who's ideally a centre back, and he was our threat down the right wing. Do you know? It's the whole thing just is weird how it's gone so wrong, and then rightly so because of what's gone on the pitch, and all the stuff that is talked about, high performance, bollocks, and LinkedIn speak and all that rubbish. For all that, is for me, it's just not, it's just not good enough, and that goes right to the top. We can say, or people do say, don't they? Oh, well, you can't blame the owner. No, I think you can. He's the owner at the end of the day.
Everyone.
Happy to blame Ellis Short. We're happy to blame Donald and Methven. To me, the culture starts at the top, and that's it. And we know it's shambles from everything. I can list 10 things that are awful. Even going back to pre-season, playing against shit American teams, it didn't really teach us anything. So it's we'll see what the minutes come out with from the Red and White Army. I don't expect too much because I know the club will have, because there hasn't even been a whisper or a rumour or anything come out of that. So that'll be tightly lipped, but we'll see what comes out of that and then, go from there.
Yeah. The last thing we'll touch on about the game before we, like I said, there's plenty of other things to talk about, is the goal, which comes from a player who everyone said Sunderland should sign. Attacking player, creative player, someone who will chip in with goals, someone who has attacking quality. And he's gone to Hull. Why has he gone to Hull? Because Hull are showing ambition that they want to achieve something in this league. If you look at some of the players they brought in on loan this season, obviously Tyler Morton, who, just to add in there, might be the dirtiest player in the league, I think. He's on loan from Liverpool. Liam Delap, I think, is at Hull, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Obviously, Fabio Carvalho now as well. Hull are willing to pay wages that other teams maybe aren't to improve their squad. And I'm not entirely sure where they are in the league now. I wouldn't be surprised if they've gone above us. But, they're showing that ambition. And I said this after the Ipswich game with Michael, put money on Fabio Carvalho to score, because he's a player we should have been all over, and he's a player that would have improved our team. And lo and behold, we lose 1-0 to a Fabio Carvalho goal.
Yeah, again, we can dissect that, and it probably just sums it all up at the moment. I think still a lot of criticism of Luke O'Neill at centre back just being far too casual, ridiculous. Bit of defending for me. Just deal with it. We don't have to be cute. Then obviously the goalkeeper comes out. If anything, it's a foul. Linesman's about 10 yards away. And then if it's not a foul, okay, fine. Yep, right, get that. It comes off him. How the linesman's not seen that, fine. But then we've got to defend better, and we don't. And we're lethargic, and we seem to get undone by set pieces for some reason. It's just not good enough at all. And we're talking about some. If it was the real youngsters making the mistakes again, you could say, well, they're young. You put it down to experience, blah 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 blah. But we're talking about Luke O'Neill, who's probably the most experienced player in the squad. You'd say, albeit he's very newish to the centre back role, but you've got to accept that those things are going to happen because that's the type of player he is, being moulded into a centre back. And again, that's just another frustration. But are we going to sell Luke O'Neill to a Premier League club or a European club for good money? Probably not. Have we got Jensen Silk there, who, to be fair, his feet are very, very good for a very tall centre back. The Dutch are renowned for their very good big centre backs. Are we not hindering his development a bit by not playing him in there? Maybe. Does that mistake happen if he's not a centre back? I think that's just another issue, within the Sunderland coffin, shall we call it? But yeah, just awful defending. And yeah, it's just, you have to suck one of those up, unfortunately. And you knew once they scored, I didn't have any hope that we'd get back into it. Yeah. I saw the quote from Bill after the game, said, "Oh, we need to be better in front of goal." I was, mate, we need to get in front of goal first. It's different if we were getting in front and just missing loads of chances, but we weren't, mate. I don't think Rusyn, got a sniff at all. It doesn't matter who you put there. You know, again, it goes down to tactics. Why are we not getting players around him? You know, he was surrounded against Newcastle.
It goes down to tactics, and it goes down to, again, decision making from, the head coach, the coaching staff, which I said at the time. I seen Hamir warming up. I think he was the first sub we put on. I said he's going to take Roofson off for Hamir here. He shouldn't. We should go 2 up front. Take Job off because, I like Job, very good player. He's going to be a very good player. But recently, he's been absolutely shocking. And if I was any other player that had been dropped by now, he needs a break from the team. He needs a rest. He's been, burnt out, similar to what Dan Neil did in that League One season. And that's going to hinder development. I said Job should come off, Hamir should come on, go 2 up front and, just occupy defenders. Again, I don't want to repeat what we've said in other podcasts, but what I said to Michael after the Ipswich game was, if you put 2 up front, that's 1 less defender that can, track Jack Clarke. Then Jack Clarke has a bit more space. Jack Clarke has that space, you get the ball in the box, we have 2 players there. But again, we take a striker off for another striker. Inevitably against Stoke, Roofson will probably be dropped, and you'll see, I don't know, Barr playing as a striker again, and the whole shape will be off. And just like you said, the decision making, the tactics, it has genuinely got worse since Mowbray got sacked.
Yeah, let's not sugarcoat it. The tactics yesterday, especially last 20 minutes, were dog shit. 100%. I think I counted at one point. So they brought off Carvalho and put Sharp up front. Now, Billy Sharp's about 40. He can't run. They brought another defender on. And obviously they pushed right back into their half. I think Sharp was even playing sort of a bit like centre midfield. And I think after that, I counted like 5 players sort of on the halfway line. Why have we got 5 players? You're not occupying anyone. They'll be happy to sit and watch us knock, 5 or 6 sideway passes and then try and find Clarke. We've got no width on the right, on that side. So there's no balance. It's not like we can choose Roberts and Clarke, and then the squad depth after those 2 just isn't good enough. And like you say, we need people in the box occupying defenders. I think even Job was sitting outside the box. Why can't we go up 2 up top and make them think about it? Because we were camped in there. We were getting the ball in there. I think Dan Ballard was playing as a bit of a unorthodox striker, but he's not a striker. He's not going to score. It's again, we're going back to it. Christian Speakman saying, some of the best coaches I've seen. That's amazing, mate. That's really good for you that you've had a good day watching the guy you appoint have a really good coaching session. Because if he has, which you're saying he has, which, okay, fair enough, we're not seeing it. We're not seeing these tactical masterclasses that apparently you keep banging on about, and who this guy, out of all your data-driven stuff, I'll call it, I'm not up on all of that. Those things that are churned out should be able to give me or give us a better output than what we're seeing. Is it a case of we need to rip it up front and we need to get a more old-fashioned winger and get the ball in the box, and flood the box, because when the balls did come, they didn't come anywhere the strikers, Roofson was in and the balls were played back. The amount of balls we did actually get into the box and played back, no one was there. Yet we played with about 6 number 10s in the team at times, which is where you'd think they would be. But again, it's not good enough. And I'd love to have the thoughts of Proctor and Dodds and see what they see what they would say about the whole thing. I think I can't 100% say it was true, but you saw Pritchard sort of having to go back at Bill and you're thinking, what's going on here? Yeah. Because to be fair, like 2 months ago or 3 months ago, it was all right. We know we had a really good season. We may have overachieved a bit with having Ahmad in the team. But at the moment, yeah, we just, if you're going to fill the team with kids, which we have, and they're going to go through bad times, you've got to have the people there to be able to pick those people up. Can Michael Beale inspire those players? Because to me, he's, in his interview, he said, "Oh, well, the fans shouldn't boo, the players." I don't think they were booing the players, mate, because they're giving. Yeah. They did look like they were put the effort. Most of them, probably 1 or 2, I'll probably say need a bit of a rocket up the arse. But you're not inspiring them, mate. There should be young kids playing for a massive football club in front of so many fans. They should go and embrace that, and they should be fearless. And that's why when I see like players like Chris Rigg, and Bennett on the bench, not saying they're the answer because I don't think they are, but mix it up a bit, inspire someone, make someone a little bit unsure of their position, all of them, and say, can you go out there? Can you perform? Can you do it? And if they can't, that's fine. That's on the recruitment or it's on the coach. But the coach doesn't strike me one little bit as being able to, once you do lose the fans, which, I haven't seen anyone or many sort of pro Michael Bell. I know he wasn't a popular appointment, but you sort of give him a chance. I've seen nothing at all. And that again, that's on the club.
I mean, that leads on to the last thing we'll talk about, because quite frankly, I don't think anyone really wants to look ahead to the next Sunderland game at the minute, which, just for the note, is going to be Stoke, and I think it's at home. But the last thing we'll touch on is the fact that you're getting sacked in the morning was a chant straight after that Hull City game, which I think he's been in charge for 7 games. Is probably the quickest I've ever seen a manager, I say, lose the fans, which I don't think is really the right way of putting it, because I don't think he ever had the fans. I think the minute even the rumour that he could have been considered for the job came out, he wasn't wanted. He comes in, we lose 3-0 at home to Coventry. That, again, didn't help his cause. And ever since he's come in, I'd be very surprised if I ever meet a Sunderland fan that thinks, we should give Bale a chance here. I think he's going to do something, because again, we'll talk the performances, the way we press, the way we go forward, the substitutions. The players don't even look like they want to play for him. I mean, I can't remember which game it was, but when Pritchard got subbed off, it might have been Ipswich. I think, he looked at Bale and was like, what are you doing? The players that got subbed off yesterday, they walked straight past Bale, didn't even, look at them. And it is 7 games in, which, I was listening to, I think it was Kevin Brady on the radio after the game, and he's like, maybe it is a little bit harsh to want to manage it out that quick, but could a defeat against Stoke, or even not a win against Stoke, genuinely be the end for him?
Yeah, of course it could.
In fact, I'll reword that. Instead of could, should that be the end?
Well, it's the only thing I would say to that. Do you trust? We're talking about the last appointment was Speakman's big one, and to me, it's gone awfully wrong. It's like you say, we're football fans, and we go every week, and we see it every week, and we're not stupid. We know we've seen good football. We've seen some awful football. Don't get us wrong. Are you going to trust them to then go and do it again? And, I already put a tweet out saying, well, who's out of work at the moment? Because those are the people we're looking at. I know there was the rumour about Will Steele, and he would have cost a lot of money. That cost 5 million, all right, it's a lot of money. If you're invested in a project, and he was the one, go and get him. Like I say, we have got the money. The money would be available. And if it isn't, then obviously you can't come out and say, well, this is the expectation, this is that, and you can't keep coming out and spouting that, because people are just like, well, I don't believe you anymore, and it seems everyone at the moment is getting, really, really skeptical about everybody, that's right up to the top of the ownership group. And like I say, I'm not more than happy, but if the results on the pitch and the performances were good, I probably could, not get the too much about not being able to buy a shirt, or, my family's struggling to get tickets, because they're digital dinosaurs, and I could overlook those things a little bit if what we're seeing. I don't see how it's gone wrong, but it's gone. I don't want to say catastrophe sort of wrong, but we're certainly heading that way. Like I say, lose to Stoke. And, it's like you say, you can't lose the fans if you never had them. But it was sort of last night, I'm expecting, right, you've had some weeks of coaching. Now, if he'd have had like 2 games every single week, I maybe have slight, not because I don't like him, it's just one of those, unfortunately. But I maybe would have had some slight sympathy, thinking, okay, fair enough. But if you can't get decent enough ideas across to your already fairly decent team, we'd say, we're not at the top, we're not at the bottom, we are a good, very good championship team. If you can't do that, I don't see how you pull it round. I don't see what masterclass or tactical change or is going to change anything. Are we going to go and look for some players that maybe he fancies, like a Kiefer Moore, or those type of rumours, and then we're sort of two more games down and we've lost them. You're like, well, what do we do then? You then asking someone to come in, put out the fire again, you know, and try and go that way. But it's so messy, so messy. And like I say, last night I was expecting a really good, high pressured like performance, if you know what I mean. So not giving them a sniff, which I think we did. We sort of let them just play it around, and the only reason we did win the ball is through their shit passing, not because of how well we pressed. Yeah, and I was expecting a lot more, and I was let down. And normally I get so frustrated, and I'm very sweary, and it was a bit like, okay, that's the full time whistle went. I just sort of turned the telly off, and I was a bit gutted. I didn't let my wife watch Love Island. It would have been easier than watching that. You want to be inspired, and well, I'm not sure it was a good decision, to be fair. Because what we saw second half just wasn't good enough. And these are good players. They're not being shown, I don't think, in the right way at the moment.
Yeah. Well, like I said, Stoke's the next game. Thankfully, don't have to worry about someone playing for another week or so. We do have to worry about is whether we're going to get any players in between now or then, because obviously, like I said, time is running out. We're now 3 weeks into the window and barely a solid rumour yet, in terms of ingoings or outgoings either. So we'll get a podcast out potentially before then as well to kind of touch on a few extra things here and there around the club before that Stoke game, but we'll also have one out after that game to talk about inevitably a Sunderland win, because why wouldn't it be? But until then, we will see you later.
That's all, folks.